So let me just start by saying I am absolutely exhausted today. I have been staring at my screen for hours trying to process everything that is going down in Port Charles right now. And honestly, it is a lot. General Hospital is just not letting up for a single second. The spoilers for Tuesday, March 24 are completely insane. So grab a snack or a drink or whatever you need because we have to talk about all of this. Because Ross Cullum is about to do what he feels needs to be done. And we all know that when a guy like Cullum decides to take action, it is never good. It is usually bloody and terrible. But before we get into the really dark stuff with Cullum and Marco Rios, let us talk about the mess happening over at Bobbie's. Or, well, the room above Bobbie's where Britt Westbourne has been staying, because Nathan West is currently standing right in Jack Brennan's way. And it is a whole tense standoff. Brennan is stressing out. He is practically begging Nathan to understand the importance of speaking with Britt immediately, because Brennan knows that Britt is in massive danger. But Nathan is just not having it. Nathan does not trust Brennan as far as he can throw him. And honestly, can you blame him? Brennan has his own shady WSB history. So Nathan is doing his absolute best to block Brennan from tracking Britt down. Nathan has his hand on his gun and he is not messing around. He just showed up at Britt's place hoping to find her himself. Because Nathan is growing increasingly concerned about the threat that Cullum poses to Britt, and he wants to protect her. But Britt is not even there. So where is Britt? She is already down on Pier 55, and she is not alone. She is with Lucas Jones. And this is where things get really heavy, because Lucas just handed over 2 vials of Britt's Huntington's disease medication that Marco stole from Jen Sidwell's safe at Windermere. And Britt is grateful, obviously, because she needs that medication reverse engineered to save her life. But she is also terrified, so she gives Lucas this incredibly grim warning. She tells him point blank that Jen Sidwell is not the only person he needs to be worried about, because Ross Cullum is involved now, and Cullum is capable of absolute horrors when he is betrayed. Britt knows that Cullum is ruthless, and she wants Lucas to understand the massive risk he is taking, and that warning really shakes Lucas. It leaves him with these growing concerns about Marco, because Marco is the one who actually stole the meds. Marco is the one in the direct line of fire, so Lucas is starting to panic. He might even mention some of these fears when he confides in Carly later, because Lucas needs someone to talk to. But while Britt and Lucas are having this intense conversation on the pier, they are being watched. Rocco Falconeri is just lurking in the shadows. He has been snooping around trying to learn more about Britt's jam, because he cares about her. She is like a surrogate mom to him. And Rocco sees that Britt is clearly in distress, so he might feel the need to take action somehow, which is a terrible idea, because Rocco is just a kid and he is entirely in over his head. If Cullum catches Rocco snooping, that kid is going to be in lethal danger. But Britt has even more danger ahead of her. She is waiting for Jason Morgan to show up so they can flee to Canada. But Jason is not going to make it, because Jason is currently dealing with a massive issue of his own. Dante Falconeri has just cornered him in the parking lot outside the gym, and Dante is not there to chat. He is there to carry out a WSB warrant. Dante is basically telling Jason not to do anything stupid. Don't do it, man. Not in front of your kid, Dante warns him, because Danny Morgan is right inside the gym for his basketball game. And Jason was just in there talking to him. Jason was trying to say goodbye. But now Dante is standing in his way. Jason might try to insist on going back inside, but Dante is going to push him to just come to the station willingly. Because Dante does not want to arrest Jason in front of Danny. That would be traumatizing for the kid. So Jason is going to have to make a choice, and it looks like he is going to surrender. He is going to ask Dante to find Danny and make sure he is okay. But this means Jason is going to be delayed. He is going to be stuck at the PCPD while Britt is waiting for him on the pier. And that is exactly what Cullum wants. Cullum is probably going to make sure Jason disappears, or at least gets held up long enough for Cullum to get his hands on Britt. Because Cullum needs Britt to finish that cold fusion prototype, and he is not going to let her escape to Canada. So Britt is going to be left waiting and wondering why Jason abandoned her, when in reality Jason is just trapped by the law. It is a heartbreaking situation, and it is going to lead to Britt getting abducted back to Windermere. But let us shift gears for a second, because there is drama happening over at Carly's house too. Carly is currently snapping at Valentin Cassadine, because Valentin decided to plan this big surprise for her, and he did not give her a heads up. Carly hates surprises. She likes to be in control, so she is getting irritated with him. But Valentin is just turning on the charm. He is working so hard to charm her again. He probably set the table for a romantic dinner, just trying to have a nice moment amidst all the chaos, because they are hiding out and trying to protect their daughters. But their nice moment is going to get ruined, because Lucas is going to show up. Lucas is going to come knocking on Carly's door because he needs to confide in her about Marco and Britt. And this is going to be a massive close call for Valentin. Because Valentin is a fugitive, he is supposed to be on the run. If Lucas sees him, the whole secret is blown. So Carly is going to have to scramble. She is going to be forced to cover for Valentin, and then she is going to blast him after the close call. She is going to yell at him for being so reckless, but Valentin is just going to insist that this was supposed to be a nice surprise. He just wanted to do something good for her. And honestly, despite the yelling, Carly and Valentin are ultimately going to share that meal together. And that could lead to more temptation, because the chemistry between them is just undeniable right now, even if it is a terrible idea. And speaking of terrible people, let us talk about Jens Sidwell, because he is currently in the mayor's office terrorizing Laura Collins. Sidwell is just the worst. He is making all these demands, and he has the absolute nerve to act like Laura should be grateful to him. He is standing there bowing and smiling, telling her that the words she is looking for are thank you, and Laura just looks like she wants to punch him in the face. She is growing to loathe him even more, because Sidwell is blackmailing her. He is forcing her to do his bidding, and Laura is the mayor. She is supposed to be protecting Port Charles, but she is trapped under Sidwell's thumb, and it is just infuriating to watch. Sidwell is so smug, but he is about to get a massive reality check, because his son is in grave danger. Meanwhile, over at the Quartermaine mansion, there is a totally different kind of drama happening. Brooklyn Quartermaine is sitting down with Tracy Quartermaine, and they are talking about baby Phoebe, the little girl that belonged to Delilah Wilson. Brooklyn is telling Tracy all about her plans to be a foster parent to this baby along with Harrison Chase, because Brooklyn feels a connection to this kid. She wants to protect her, but Tracy is not buying it. Tracy is sharp, she sees right through people, and Tracy is going to worry that Brooklyn is getting way too attached. Tracy is going to ask this really blunt question. She is going to suspect that Brooklyn might be using this baby as a way to deal with other issues. Like maybe Brooklyn is using baby Phoebe as a band-aid to fix her unresolved feelings about Gio Palmieri, or to distract herself from the problems in her marriage to Chase. Tracy is just not going to hold back, and Brooklyn is going to get super defensive. She is going to rush to her own defense. She is going to make it clear that she intends to step up for baby Phoebe no matter what. She is going to argue that this baby needs a home, and that she and Chase can provide a loving environment, but you have to wonder if Tracy is right, because Brooklyn does have a history of diving into things to avoid her own feelings. So this whole foster parent quest could end up being really messy, especially if Delilah's family or the biological father suddenly shows up to claim the baby. But we have to get back to the darkest part of this episode, the part that is going to change everything. Ross Cullum, because Cullum has figured it out. He knows that Marco Rios is the one who stole Britt's medication from the safe. Pascal told him, and Cullum is not someone who just lets things slide. He does not wait around. He takes immediate action to eliminate threats, and Marco is now a massive threat to the Cold Fusion project. So Cullum has tracked Marco down to Alexis Davis's law office. Marco was just sitting there working on some legal briefs. Alexis had asked him to leave handwritten notes. It seemed so innocent. But then, Cullum crept in with a knife behind his back. And this is where it just gets brutal. Cullum seems poised to stab Marco. Right there in the law office. Marco probably will not even see it coming until it is too late. He thought he was untouchable because he is Jen Sidwell's son. He underestimated Cullum. And now he is going to pay the ultimate price. Cullum is going to stab him and leave him bleeding out on the floor. It is going to be a gruesome, bloody mess. And Cullum is going to meticulously clean up his own tracks. Because he is a professional. He is going to make sure that the trail leads far away from him. In fact, he is going to frame Sonny Corinthos for the murder, which is just going to cause a massive ripple effect across the entire town, because Alexis is going to be the one to find the body. She is going to walk into her office the next day and discover Marco's grisly corpse, and she is going to be absolutely horrified. It is going to throw Port Charles into total turmoil. But the person who is going to suffer the most is Lucas. General Hospital spoilers say Lucas will face some devastation soon, and that is a massive understatement. Lucas is going to be destroyed. He loved Marco. He tried to warn him. He told Marco that Cullum was dangerous. But Marco did not listen, and now Elizabeth Baldwin is going to have to deliver the terrible news to Lucas. It is going to be a heartbreaking scene. So you definitely need to stay tuned for all of this, because the fallout from Marco's death is going to be massive. And let's talk a little more about that whole Dante and Jason situation, because honestly, it's just so layered. Dante is a cop, right? But he's also a father. He gets what Jason is going through. Jason just wants to protect his son Danny. He wants to keep Danny away from the violence and the chaos of his life. But Jason's life is inherently violent and chaotic. So when Dante corners him with that WSB warrant, it's not just a cop doing his job. It's Dante looking at Jason and saying, hey, don't traumatize your kid. Dante knows what it's like to have a complicated relationship with a father. Look at him and Sonny. So Dante is actually doing Jason a favor by telling him to come quietly. But Jason is so stubborn, he always thinks he can find a way out. He always thinks he can beat the system, but this time he can't. The WSB is not the PCPD. They don't play by the same rules, and Cullum is pulling the strings, so Jason is walking right into a trap, and he doesn't even know it yet. And then there is Britt. Poor desperate Britt. She is standing on that pier, clutching those stolen vials of medication. Medication that is literally the only thing keeping her from succumbing to Huntington's disease. She is putting all her faith in Jason. She thinks Jason is her knight in shining armor who is going to swoop in and take her to Canada. But Jason isn't coming, and Britt is going to be left standing there in the cold. And who is going to show up instead? Ross Cullum. The man she is terrified of, the man who is holding her hostage to finish Cesar Faison's final project. Cullum is going to find her on that pier, and he is going to block her escape. He is going to drag her back to Windermere, and he is going to threaten her life. He's going to tell her that if she doesn't finish that prototype by tomorrow, she is a dead woman. And not just her. He's going to threaten Jason. He's going to threaten Rocco, because Cullum knows exactly what buttons to push.